Before you make a video and post it on the internet for the whole world to see, if you are feeling extremely emotional, it's very important that you take time, calm down, get your words together so that you sound rational and you don't just sound unhinged because then no one's going to take you seriously. So, after I got this terrible news, I needed a few days to calm down so I could get my thoughts together and be somewhat organized. And now I have, so here it comes. I rebuke, in the strongest terms possible, the betrayal of Virginians, and by extension, of all American citizens, that has been committed by two so called Republican state senators here in Virginia, those being Tommy Norment and Senator Dunnavant, both of whom have voted in favor of Senate Bill 1382, which is an assault weapons ban. And if you actually go to the Virginia Gov website and actually look up Senate Bill 1382 for the year 2023, you'll see that it's basically identical to Bill Clinton's 1994 assault weapon ban, which was A, unconstitutional, B, a severe deprivation of rights, and three, did not actually reduce crime in any meaningful way. Yet here we are in the year 2023, and they are trying to bring some inefficacious garbage from the past, rehash it here, throw it against the wall, and see whatever sticks, and screw over and deprive law abiding American citizens of their rights. Folks, if you live in the districts of either Norment or Dunnavant, I urge you to primary them out or vote them out in next election cycle. They need to feel an electoral consequence for what they have done. Furthermore, I would advocate that you publicly rebuke them, publicly expose what they are doing to be wrong so that the next generation can inherit the blessings of liberty. So a few days ago, I listened to Senator Dunnavant attempt to defend this puerile legislation on the radio AM 1140, I believe it was, and she basically offered up four reasons as to why she voted for it or trying to, defend this legislation. The first thing she said was she listened to people on both sides of the aisle. Now, how many times have you seen horrible legislation passed with the consent of both sides of the aisle? Sending all of this money to Ukraine when our economy is faltering, spending money on projects that don't benefit us as the American people. You've seen a lot of bad legislation, but people say, oh, well, it's done through both sides, so it must be good. Oh, really? Like when Mitch McConnell turned his back on the American people and supported gun control in the federal level, but it had the consent of both sides. Now, listen, virtue signaling is the idea that you do something performative to look good in front of people, but you're not actually offering any real value. That's exactly what politicians do when they claim how bipartisan something is. Not every idea is worth compromising with. Gun rights, or your right to keep and bear arms per the Second Amendment of the Constitution, is not negotiable. There is no bipartisanship about this. Let me give you an analogy to help you understand this. If an alligator approached you wanting to eat you, and instead of letting him eat all of you, you just gave him both of your arms and both of your legs, would you really hop away from that as a winner, saying, well, it was bipartisan, he got some of what he wanted, he didn't get everything? Would you truly feel like a winner if an alligator ate all of your limbs but just didn't eat the rest of you? No. You see, when you are bipartisan with something that is grievous, with something that is dangerous, like gun control is, what you're really doing is you're surrendering half of yourself. You're gaining nothing in return. Now, let's visit this analogy of the alligator even further, or the crocodile. If the crocodile came up to you and said, I want to eat your baby, and you said, no, crocodile, you can't have my baby. And then you say, okay, but crocodile, we're going to work this out. We're going to be bipartisan. You can have half of my baby. Would you truly walk away saying, I was victorious because the croc only ate half my baby? No. Why? Because all the crocodile wanted to do was destroy you. The crocodile did not want to help you in any meaningful way. That's exactly what gun control is. And that is exactly why there are certain issues where bipartisanship should just be off the table. Gun controllers are objectively wrong in every single scenario. The second argument that she made in defense of this horrible bill was people are scared in my district. Okay? Yes, people experience emotions and fear is one of them. We are human beings. We don't walk around just perfectly optimistic all the time. But you cannot let something such as fear govern our policy. And here is why. Fear in the human physiology serves a very specific purpose. The purpose of fear is to help you avoid or get out of a dangerous situation. When a dog's attacking you, that adrenaline lets you fight or flight. When you're being beaten up or being physically attacked by another human being, that adrenaline allows you to get into fight or flight mode so you can get out of that situation. However, would you be wise to be in fight or flight mode when you're doing your taxes? When you're setting up an investment account, when you're trying to study your way through school, when you're working on your job? No. Fear has its place in very acute situations. It is not something which we should allow to dictate our public policy, which is what Senator Dunnavant and Tommy Norment are essentially allowing to happen. The third reason that she offers is, well, I've talked to subject matter experts about this. Okay, now, whenever you hear this, what you're pretty much dealing with is an elitist, because subject matter expert, first of all, that's a very subjective definition. How much knowledge do you need to be a subject matter expert? Or in this case, who are you considering to be an expert? Michael Bloomberg? Or Shannon Watts, or those organizations? Are those who you were calling an expert, Senator Dunnavant and Senator Norment? Because if so, you have truly lost your way. When we start letting experts govern society, we get lockdowns, we get eviction moratoriums, we get people's rights being trampled on left and right because the experts said so. And does that really make society a better place? No, it doesn't. Senator Dunnavant, let me tell you what you are doing. You are committing gated community politics. You are letting the people who are the social betters tell us peons what to do. That is an elitist attitude, and it is antithetical to the party you belong to that freed the slaves, because here you are treating people like they are second-class citizens because they want to defend themselves. And that is not right. There is nothing right about what you have decided to do with 1382. Now, you guys that live in gated communities, who can afford armed guards, who live places where you have higher layers of protection, of course, in your mind, you could not imagine why somebody might need more than 10 rounds to defend him or herself. But let me give you some very real scenarios. Number one, what if you live in the hood and there are gangs, and so you might have more than one person attacking you? What if you live out in the country and there might be a wild animal like a coyote or a bear or something that might try to attack you? Or number three, what if you live in the suburbs and because the urban environments have become so dangerous, that sprawls out into your suburban neighborhood, and now you're having to defend yourself from robbers and muggers and other kinds of people that want to do you harm? There are some very real scenarios where 10 rounds is not adequate. And if 10 rounds were all that you needed to defend yourself, why do cops carry 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 rounds? Why does the military carry 20, 30, 40, 50 rounds? If 10 rounds is all that is needed to keep a person safe, then limit the cops to 10 rounds. Limit your guards to 10 rounds. Limit the Virginia State Police to 10 rounds. Limit the police in Norfolk Police to 10 rounds. Limit the people in your city to 10 rounds. Make all of us walk around with lever action rifles and 6-shot revolvers if you truly believe 10 rounds is adequate. But no, you would not even dream of limiting the police to 10 rounds because you know sometimes you need more. So that is why deferring to subject matter experts ends up being a very elitist argument, because you're leaving the little guy behind. There are very real scenarios. And you say, oh, well, I defer to the subject matter experts. Okay, so did President Porfirio Diaz of Mexico. He let the subject matter experts run Mexico in the 1800s, and they ran it to the ground. And that is why people were leaving Mexico. It's most likely why my ancestors left Mexico when they came to America. And you know, where I was born and raised, we also had this kind of governance where you couldn't defend yourself and it was big I, little you. And you know what? I left Washington, D.C., which is my native town, because of it, coming down to Virginia because I believed it was the land of freedom and opportunity. And it was so much better. But now you're letting that Alexandria, Arlington psychological cancer metastasize down here. I might just have to pack up and leave Virginia then. I don't want to, frankly, Senators Norment and Dunnavant, if this is how you are going to govern, I am extremely uncomfortable continuing to live here and pay taxes here, knowing that I'm supporting people like you guys who just want to step over us. Very disrespectful. You have failed to make this man feel welcome in your state, and you really ought to be ashamed of yourselves. Anyway, the point four that she offered as a defense for this horrible legislation was, I wouldn't have signed it if I thought it would trample over your rights. Okay, so you've already proven to be subject to duress. You've already proven to be subject to pointless bipartisanship on non-negotiable issues. You've already proven that all you care about are the opinions of the intellectual elites and the so-called subject matter experts. So why should I trust that you really care about us and wouldn't sign something that would harm us? In fact, that kind of lie which you told is very pathological. It's how a narcissist justifies his actions to his victims. Oh, I'm doing it to protect you. I wouldn't hurt you. Punch, punch, punch. That's essentially what you're doing. In fact, that's exactly what you did, because when you defended yourself for voting for this abomination, you said, well, I voted against red flag legislation, and so because I voted against that, that ought to earn me some credibility with the gun community. No, it doesn't, because any sane human being who respects the Constitution should be against red flag laws. However, here you stand in support of an assault weapons ban. That does not excuse you being against red flag laws. You being against red flag laws is not a bonus. That's a bare minimum. How far has the state, how far has this country fallen when we as Americans are just so grateful when someone chooses not to step on our rights? No, the people who govern ought to have enough respect for the Constitution, respect for God and country, respect for fellow man, to where it's the default that you're not going to trample on our rights. Not, oh, we have to hope you don't. No. Because you saying, well, I voted against the red flag laws, so that gives me some credibility. That's like saying to your victim, hey, I may have stabbed you in the right lung, but at least I didn't stab you in the left lung, so you should be grateful that I left your left lung intact. It's, how shall I say, it's narcissistic, it's tyrannical, and it's borderline sociopathic. So, for the life of me, I cannot understand why someone such as yourself, Senators Norment and Dunnavant, why you continue to represent yourselves as Republicans or anything remotely conservative. Both of you just need to come clean, switch to the Democratic Party, and at least then we as Virginians will know where we stand the next time we go to the polls. So if you are in their districts, please contact them and let them know how abhorrent that legislation is, and so that they can never vote for anything like that again. And I don't feel as though they deserve to govern, and I hope you feel the same way, and I hope you show that democratically at the polls, again, with all due respect and diligence. But those two senators have got to go. Please, somebody start a primary, or can we even recall them? I doubt that. We need to find out what way we can have them never serve another term because of their horrible policies, because what other betrayals will be down the pipeline as you see today in these evil days. You all stay safe out there, stay peaceful, stay respectful. As much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Have a good day, everybody.